The COVID-era Obamacare subsidies are set to expire in 18 days, but a vote on an extension is not likely to happen before the end of the year. Joining me now to discuss are our panelists. Hyma Moore is a Democratic Strategist and Principal at Cornerstone Government Affairs. Amanda Makki is a Republican attorney and strategist. Thank you both for joining us today. The House is now required to vote on a 3-year extension to Obamacare COVID-era subsidies. 4 Republicans now have broken ranks to join Democrats in forcing this vote, which, like we mentioned, it likely won't happen until next year. Hyma, we'll start with you. How do you view this new development?
Look, good to see you, and thank you for having me, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody. Look, I think these 4 Republicans are a canary in a coal mine. What Leader Jeffries and the Democrats have been saying, and some would say that that shutdown was predicated on this, is healthcare costs as they're coming in right now to people are really shocking them, and they're causing a lot of alarm to people's pocketbooks and to their livelihoods. And so I think what these Republicans are saying right now is those costs are too high. What's going to happen in January is if these subsidies are not renewed, a huge chaos and huge issues around healthcare are going to come directly to people. And that's going to be an election year. But more importantly, these are real issues that Congress wants to or should be talking about.
Amanda, even if these subsidies do pass the House, do you think it has any chance of passing the Senate? And also, what do you make of the decision from those 4 Republicans to join with Democrats on this petition?
Look, they are all up for re-election next year. They would be tone deaf if they weren't representing their constituency. They are in moderate districts, probably districts that President Trump didn't win. And so I think that they realize they have to do what is important for them to be able to keep their seat and further enhance that majority that we have, albeit very slim, in the House. In the Senate, you do see the Problem Solvers Caucus, people like Bernie Moreno, senator from Ohio, Susan Collins, known moderate, Lisa Murkowski, known moderate, coming together to try and do something. But you do see a rift in the Republican Party where some are saying, we've told you this since 2010. Obamacare is unaffordable and it should die under its own weight. And then you have those moderate Republicans who are trying to salvage this, knowing that their constituents are going to face thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in premium increases starting January 1st.
Now, meanwhile, we have Republicans who have advanced their own plan to reform Obamacare without extending the subsidies. Hyma, with these subsidies going to insurance companies, Republicans' reason for this is saying that it drives up premiums. Do you think that Democrats could agree on potentially another solution to lower prices for Americans? For example, the idea of the subsidies going directly to the individual through health savings accounts?
Yeah, I think Democrats are willing to come to the table, and they've been saying this for a long time now. And I know a lot of Republicans like to blame sort of this kerfuffle on the ACA or Obamacare, but we have to realize that the reason why Barack Obama and the Democrats in the House and the Senate at the time were so prone to push this healthcare law because there was a crisis then. And so healthcare has been a crisis in America for quite some time. And I think Republicans and smart Democrats want to do something that are going to both save people money, save their lives, and allow for them to have some sort of sense of wellness. And so Democrats are willing to come to the table and have this conversation. Another thing that people, Democrats and Republicans can agree on, prescription costs are too high. What has happened is, including insulin and things that are life-saving, those things are too high. And so if Republicans and Democrats can get on the same table about that, that could be an issue, I think, could be bipartisan.
Now, Amanda, you pointed out this rift among Republicans earlier, and now with this plan that just passed the House, do you think that it could bring down the premium costs for Americans?
Well, it really depends on what the House and the Senate agree on. And it doesn't seem like the Senate has any desire to move anything right now. So certainly we're looking at January, and these premiums, they go into effect January 1st. They expired in December. So really what's happening here is that Americans are in a little bit of a limbo right now, not knowing what their subsidy could be and making it just unaffordable for some people. Again, this is a political issue where I think the Republicans are looking at it as this is what we said all along. versus those who are trying to do something. But those Republicans, those 5 Republicans who voted for this in the House, they are, for the discharge petition, they are just basically allowing Obamacare to continue in its current unaffordable form. So it's only really a Band-Aid. It's not a solution. And therein lies the problem with Obamacare. Therein lies the reason why we were in the longest government shutdown this year that we've ever had. And I think that just proved the point of Republicans all along. I worked on Obamacare when I was in the United States Senate, and this is what we warned of. This is an unaffordable program. The numbers don't add up. Now, I will say that it is important what happened where pre-existing conditions, which were a huge problem, we had the Patient's Bill of Rights because patients were being denied care that they needed. Breast cancer patients weren't getting the surgery they needed, the care they needed. And so it is important that we recognize the failures of our healthcare system, but we have to make it affordable too. And I think that's what Republicans are trying to aim for.
Yeah, and we'll certainly be watching to see how this develops.
Yeah, if Republicans had a plan instead of replace for repeal, I think Democrats would be open to a plan from Republicans. We've got to cover as many Americans as we can. Healthcare is valuably important, but the backdrop of this is all affordability. So it's not just about healthcare, it's about other things that are unaffordable in people's lives. And so the healthcare costs going up in January just makes it all much more difficult.
All right, Amanda and Hyma, let's switch gears for a moment and talk about the NDAA that was just passed in the Senate. This would fund the military, of course. It would also head to the president's desk for a signature soon. The bill also includes a 4% pay raise for the troops and aims to step up competition with China and Russia. It also holds back a quarter of War Secretary Pete Hegseth's travel budget until the Pentagon releases those unedited videos of the strikes on boats near Latin America. Hyma, should Congress be able to access this military footage, or do you think it would cross a line for military operations?
Look, I mean, I think certain members of Congress should, and there's been precedent in the past that those who represent interests of the homeland and national defense will have access to that. But look, I don't want to put us in a place where we are parsing out if we should pay our troops more, or we should be supportive of people who are putting their lives on the line to protect democracy and protect those around the world. I do appreciate the fact that they're holding back on Secretary Hegseth's travel, and I think that's very astute. He's got a lot of questions he needs to answer. While he's been appointed by the president, he's confirmed by the Senate. And so he has multiple bosses that he's got to answer to, most importantly, the American people. And so I think this new NDA is very astute. I'm happy that they've agreed to continue to fund the military. We've talked about this before in this program, but at the end of the day, while Donald Trump and other Republicans are trying to divide America, China is still one of our biggest threats. Russia is still one of our biggest threats. And so we've got to figure out a way to bring people together in this country to support our troops, to support American innovation, to make sure that we're prepared to fight China and Russia in whatever ways that we have to.
Amanda, what's your take on the NDAA broadly? Of course, the highlights that we just mentioned.
Well, certainly, we're always glad to see bipartisan bills passing. So that's always good. And they've had a record, at least the last 6 NDAAs that have passed. But some of the things that President Trump wanted, Department of War, that's not changing under this. And as well on the woke nature of the military that President Trump and certainly Secretary of War Hegseth have said that they want to eliminate. That's something that was included in this bill. So I think what we see in this bill is funding for Ukraine, which has obviously been a dicey issue, something President Trump, really has been trying to broker a deal on, and something that he campaigned on, no more blank checks for Ukraine. Now, again, this is more of a, for the security forces of the United States that are U.S. based, but still, it does send a message. We're still supporting Ukraine in its efforts. So all in all, it's good to see bipartisanship in the United States Congress.
Certainly. Thank you, Amanda and Hyma, for your time today, and we appreciate you coming on.